Hi there. So this is Russell. I'm joined by Mark Walford, obviously our trainer. Uh, Thanks very much for finding the time to speak before the race, Mark. Really appreciate it.
No
So how
problem.
has Rizzo been since the last run?
She's been fine. She hasn't done loads of work since because obviously we've had a reasonably short gap. She had 2 days off. Just went out in the field after Newcastle, and then we got her back on the gallops. Not that much really fast work. It's just a matter of keeping her ticking over and keeping her fresh and well when it's a shortish gap between races.
Sure. And so what were your reflections after the last run? What did you see?
Well, she travelled very strongly. I thought halfway, I thought we were in for a really good run, and then obviously she flattened out, but she didn't completely stop that day. And um, I said to as always with my jockeys, I said to Jason, I said, look, just give us honest feedback. If you think we're sort of struggling with her, let us know. And he said, no, she's definitely worth carrying on with. And he said when she gets in this 0 to 60 grade, which she's in, he thinks she'll be competitive. And he said, do try and stay away from Newcastle, because although the surface was good and it was a better run than air, he felt she'd be a lot better on a turning track.
And so just for our owners, Mark, why would some horses favour a turning track over a straight track?
Yeah, well, it's a completely different race, straight um, to turning. They generally over around a turning track, you just get that chance round the bend to fill their lungs, especially if you're in front, and you can make the running at those turning tracks. At Newcastle, you can't make the running. I think she's a horse that's better making the running. So obviously Newcastle's not great for that. So it didn't suit her. Kempton, they can jump out, go fairly quick down to the bend, and then round the bend you can just sort of slow everyone up a little bit if you're in front, and then get your breath back and then kick off the bend again. So it's sort of in two parts, the race a little bit, where at Newcastle, obviously on the straight course, it's just a constant speed. So yeah, the races differ quite a lot.
Okay. And obviously she's run well at Kempton previously. What made you choose this race as opposed to any of the others that were available? What seemed right about it?
Yeah, well, obviously I wrote off. We're limited at the moment with just the all-weather tracks to look at. So we've got Newcastle, which is off. Lingfield, it's a very long way for me. I don't mind that if there's the right race, but there's quite a downhill section of the course at Lingfield. So or it might be okay, but it would have been a question mark. Which leaves us with Southall, which is they can love it or hate it at Southall. So we could have gone there and just had a shocking run. And so I sort of ruled Lingfield, which left us with Southall, Wolverhampton and Kempton. And this was just, I would have run her at Wolverhampton, no problem, but it just turned out the conditions of this race being a 0 to 6 for horses rated between 0 and 60 and being a 7 furlong race, it just fitted in ideally.
Okay, perfect. And you said she came out of the race pretty well. I mean, we know that horses after they've raced will sometimes be a little bit stiff and sore, but nothing extraordinary with her. She came out okay.
Yeah, no, she was okay. A little bit stiff the next day. She can be like that. So she just had a couple of days where we did some walking exercise with her, and then out in the field for a couple of hours, and that was it for a couple of days. And once she had that, she tends to get over it and start the training and seem fine again.
And I know that you've been training her on the flat in your field rather than using the gallops. You wanted to keep her nice and fresh for this run without pushing her too hard on the gallops. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Yeah.
And when she came back, she had the 2 days off, and then she was back up the hill gallop for a few days, and then just these last 3 days with ease right back on her work, and just cantered her in a grass field, just on a couple of circuits. So she'd have been going about 4 or 5 furlongs, just very steady. And Annie, that rides her all the time, said today she was really fresh. She was bucking and kicking going around the field. So it seems to have freshened her up. So hopefully we'll see a bit of improvement from her tomorrow.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, really good guide that Rizzo's work rider Annie is getting a good feel from her. Not so good that she's being bucked and kicked around whilst trying to work her, but
No, no, that's good for me to hear. It's good for me to hear, but maybe not so good for the person on board.
so we obviously going to go to Kempton, and we've changed jockeys for this race. We've put up a £7 claimer called George Bass for this race. Can you just say a little bit about the claiming system and why you've gone with George?
Yeah, so first of all, I thought Jason got on with it very well at Newcastle. He did a good job, and if he was available, I would have had him on. But he's over in America riding at the Breeders' Cup, so he's out of the equation. I think he's yeah, so he's over there now. And me and you had discussed having a claimer on board, and I think so when a jockey starts riding, when they're quite inexperienced and ridden less than 25 winners, it's what we call a claim 7. So whatever the horse is carrying, whatever you see on the race card, that jockey takes £7 off in weight due to their inexperience. So it's quite a lot of weight, but you're not the risks attached with using a £7 claimer because they are more inexperienced. But I feel in this case, she's a very straightforward horse to ride. It's definitely worth taking the risk of putting an inexperienced rider on to get that £7 off her back.
Great, and I mean, obviously Rizzo running in a 0 to 60. We've dropped down to 7 furlongs. Now we ran at 7 furlongs at Newcastle, but Newcastle being straight and having that long uphill sort of end to the race means that it's more like a mile. Can you maybe say a little bit about the tactics that you think you'll ask George to employ? I know you don't give too many instructions to your jockeys, but how do you see the race panning out, and what will you ask George to do?
Jump and go, pretty much. We'll keep it very simple. She ran a cracker when we ran here, at Kempton the last time. She finished 4th, I think, didn't she?
She did. Yeah.
She made all the running, just faded a little bit, but really kept on nicely. And that we had to use a lot of petrol up to get round the whole field because we were drawn on the wide outside. So this time we're drawn on the inside, so it should be very easy. She's normally out quick, out of the stalls and into a stride well. So I would hope we'd get out in front, little bit of a breathe around the bend, and then just wind it up all the way up the straight.
So a pretty simple ride, ideally for someone with a little less experience than some of the other.
Yeah, I mean, when I say is inexperienced, we're still talking of a very capable rider. I'm sure in time George is going to be one of the best around. He's being tipped up to be one of the best around. So yeah, he's inexperienced, but we're not. It's not like we're putting someone on that can't ride.
No, of course. And
he does know the job very well.
And George actually rode a winner at Kempton just this week. And I mean, as Mark's kind of hinting, you get £7 claimers and £7 claimers, you know, so there's very inexperienced horsemen, and then someone like George, who I think he's attached to Mick Channon's, isn't he? I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and he's ridden a few winners. He's had some rides in some big races. So you know, for a £7 claimer, he's as good as you're going to get.
Okay, great stuff. And maybe just to finish up, so what would be the plan on the day itself with Rizzo? So I know that you have to be careful with how much she eats and what she drinks and what have you on race days. What will the kind of preparation for an evening race look like for her and you tomorrow?
So yeah, she'll get fed as normal at 7 o'clock in the morning, and with it being such a late race, we will ride her out. She'll have a very easy canter, probably just 2 furlongs, just a leg stretch, and then she'll relax for the day. Because sometimes when they're in a routine, they're waiting to do their work on the morning, and they can be a bit anxious. So if we just give her a little leg stretch, she'll come back in. She'll be relaxed for the rest of the day before she sets off. She'll have another feed round about 11 o'clock in the morning, and then we'll set off probably about 12:30. And yeah, we'll get there round about 4:30, something like that. 4:30, 5 o'clock. And yeah, then she'll be stabled up at the races once she gets off the horse box. If she's got a bit warm in the horse box, she'll have a bit of a wash down, and then she'll just go in, relax, and then about an hour before she'll have a little lead out. Then she'll go back in, and then we'll get the saddler up about half an hour before the race and give her a good walk round until the jockeys are ready to get on about 10 minutes before.
Okay, and then she hopefully goes down to the start nice and slow and comes back from the start nice and quick. That's the plan.
Exactly. Very simple. Very simple.
So what are you hoping for tomorrow, Mark, in terms of a run from her? I know that she's disappointed us a little bit in the last couple of runs.
Yeah.
What are you expecting, or what are you hoping for?
I wouldn't. I'm not going there with confident of saying she's going to be placed or she's going to win. Obviously, she's disappointed us a few times. I thought Newcastle was a small step in the right direction, and I would just hope to see another small step. So, if we're in the, I really want to be seeing her finishing in the first half of this race, and I think that's realistic. But it's just I want to see a little bit of progression from her, especially in this grade of race. It'd be no surprise to see her placed, but I just wouldn't say I'd be confident of it. But certainly in the first half, and just show we're going in the right direction.
Sure, and I suppose for us, obviously, we want to see a nice strong run, and going back to Kempton, having run well there before, we know that she handles the track well, and I think reverting to those tactics that Royston used that day, partly because of the draw rather than because it was our desire. Hopefully, that will unlock a little bit of her keenness and desire to race. And I know that you've left the visor on as well. Can you maybe just say a little bit about that, Mark?
Yeah, so we put the visor on at Newcastle. She travelled particularly well in it. Jason thought it would help her, especially if we were dropping back, because what a visor does, it'll just give them a little bit more focus and can make them a little bit keener to race sometimes. So especially dropping, well, we were 7 furlongs at Newcastle, but going back to Kempton, it's a lot sharper, what we call sharp, so they'll go a lot quicker. So we really need to be on it and really concentrating in the first part. Otherwise, we don't want to see her getting left behind. So I think the visor helped her a touch last time, and it certainly didn't hinder her. So I see no point in taking it off.
Okay. Well, look, fingers crossed for a good run. Mark, as always, thanks for joining us and giving us your insights into her and the race day, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the track.
Yeah, we'll see everyone tomorrow. Good luck.
Perfect, brilliant. Thanks very much, Mark. Cheers.